With the creation of LIV Golf creating massive waves in the professional golf scene, there's much to discuss regarding the fate of PGA Tour defectors. Will they be allowed in, or will they have to settle with the uncertain future of LIV Golf? In this video, we'll find out what rising star Cam Davis has to say about it, and who's been ranked the greatest Aussie Gold player of all time. Starting with Cam Davis's opinion on PGA defectors. The 25-year-old golf player from Sydney has met a recent advantage as PGA Tour lost some of its best players to its fiery competitor, LIV Golf. Since he began the tour in 2018, he's had a slow but promising ascent on the world rankings. He struggled during his debut as he finished 160th on the FedEx point list, but in the next season, he quickly reached 84 in the rankings. After that, he got his first PGA Tour victory in 2021. And now, with major players leaving the pool, players like Cam Davis are getting their chance to become a part of majors they'd always dreamed of. With the exit of Cameron Smith, Davis got a shot at being part of the international team in the 2022 President's Cup. So far, he's competed in all 5 matches held at the Quail Hollow Club and won 2. If he reaches the top 50 in rankings, he would finally qualify for his first Masters. But even with these wonderful chances, the Aussie player still thinks LIV Golf players should be allowed to participate in these majors. When asked if PGA defectors who have been a part of LIV Golf should be allowed back in, Davis agreed and claimed that those majors should be for everyone. He also explained that as a professional golf player, he's always wanted to compete against the best of the best. So he had no issues playing against LIV players as long as they were there for a good game of golf. Moving on to the LIV players and their chances of playing in the 2023 Masters Tournament. LIV Golf's attempts to convince the official World Golf Ranking to grant its event world ranking points continue, and things are getting heated. The Masters in Augusta, the first major event, is the event that every professional golf player wants to participate in, but with LIV players' points being held back, their place in the event is also jeopardized. The LIV pros like Australia's Cameron Smith don't have much to worry about, as they're already exempt from playing these majors for a considerable time. But what about the others? What would they do if OWGR continues to act as a major hurdle? Well, LIV Golf has had no trouble recruiting some of the best golf players out there. It has 6 former world champions, including players like 3-time champion Phil Mickelson, former world number 1 Dustin Johnson, and current world number 2 Cameron Smith. So, with that much talent and star power in this camp, it would be ridiculous not to validate it. That's what LIV player Graham McDowell had to say in his press conference in Jeddah. The Irish golf player claimed OWGR shouldn't call itself official anymore, since it didn't care about some of the best names in golf. His statement was also shared and further backed by LIV Golf's official Twitter account. With this uncertainty looming above the players' heads, they've all expressed their concerns to the media. Let's look at what the other LIV players say about missing out on the 2023 Masters. While Augusta still hasn't confirmed the ban on LIV players yet, they have known their concerns. 2-time Masters champion Bubba Watson, who has recently turned over to the LIV side, also spoke about his worries over missing out on the major. He stated that being a Masters champion made things even more complicated for him. He added that he's praying the officials to make the right decisions and let LIV players, along with past champions, play in the event. The world number 2 and British Open champion Cameron Smith also explained that it'd be heartbreaking if he weren't allowed to play in Augusta. While speaking to ABC Radio, he recalled how much he loves the place and has a pretty impressive record. So for him, it would cause a major loss if he wasn't allowed in the tournament. While speaking to the press in Jeddah, Graham McDowell discussed how long the officials have taken to decide. He claimed that the longer it takes, the more the players will suffer in rankings. The LIV player also insisted once the decision is made, the player should be compensated. Speaking about the LIV Golf officials, he assured the others that they had been nothing but transparent and presented a fair case for them. Well, whatever the decision is in the end, LIV Golf is here to stay. Moving on to Australian Golf Digest's list of the greatest Aussie golf players of all time. The Australian Golf Digest is celebrating its 50th anniversary this month. Being the oldest and the largest golf media brand in the company, it holds a special status in the golf community. To celebrate its 50 years, it came out with a list of the 50 greatest Australian golf players. This 600th collector's edition issue has a comprehensive list of all the players' details and stats. The veteran senior writer Rohan Clark, who's worked with the magazine since it was first launched, compiled the ranking. His list has restarted the never-ending debate on who is the best Australian golf player in the world. Clark believes that Greg Norman has earned the number 1 spot on that list. He's selected as the best Aussie Gold player, followed by Kerry Webb and Peter Thompson, who shared the 3rd place on the list. Let's consider why Greg Norman was selected for the #1 spot. Known to the Aussies as the Great White Shark, Norman has been captivating the world since he won the West Lakes Classic in 1976. Rohan Clark believes he deserves to be on top of the list because it's just too difficult to pick a single accomplishment of his. He's been consistent with his peak for a long period. Clark recalled how he was the first Australian player to be ranked as the #1 player, and that too for 331 weeks. He's also the leading Australian in PGA Tour titles, winning 20. Along with that, he's been the leading money winner on the PGA Tour 3 times, in 1986, 1990, and 1995. Besides his achievements on the field, Clark also pointed out how charismatic the player's been on screen. He believes this charismatic presence grabbed the attention of all the Australians out there and brought them to watch and love the game. That clears up why Greg Norman deserves that #1 spot. But what about the second spot? Moving on to what Rohan Clark had to say about the second greatest Aussie golf player. For the #2 spot, Clark picked the 47-year-old golf legend Kerry Webb. This list would be incomplete without Kerry gracing it. Rohan added how Webb's origin story seems like a fairy tale as she rose from humble beginnings. She was raised in a small town called Ayr in the tropical North Queensland, and quickly became the best woman golfer in the world. In the description, the senior writer celebrated all her past victories, most notably her being the youngest person to be added to the World Golf Hall of Fame. Along with that, her first solo victory was also mentioned. In 1995, she won the Women's British Open and was the event's youngest winner at the tender age of 20. He also mentioned how she paved the way for women golfers by becoming the first player to earn over $100 million in a single season. Her rivalry with Sweden's Annika Sorenstam was also seen as an enormous challenge throughout her career, which she handled while winning 41 LPGA titles. With these accomplishments under her belt, Rohan Clark called her the greatest woman golfer of all time. Well, being the second greatest Australian golfer certainly dulls in comparison now. Finally, let's look at the third greatest Australian golf player. Even though he played in a time when world rankings weren't given, the latter Peter Thomson still occupies third place. He's won the British Open 5 times and held an impressive run in international tours. He was a threat wherever he went, with 29 European titles and 13 Asian wins. The only thing that held him back from the #1 spot was having only one victory in America. His efforts at laying some groundwork for the Australian PGA were also enormous in earning one of the top spots. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think LIV players should be worried? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.